All right, so just let me share stuff and we'll get the organized and we'll get going here. So I'm gonna create an infinity screen for a second and then I'll minimize this. There we go. But I'm gonna maximize this somehow. Oh, 1 second here. There we go.
All right. So first of all, it's really great to be here. It's a pleasure to be with the City of Mesa Chamber Education Committee. We really love and value our partnership, and we always are working to strengthen it. At the end of the presentation, you're going to answer we're going to answer the questions: the how, the why, the where, the when. So keep those things in mind as we go through. We were asked to speak on internships. We were asked to speak on job fairs, events, vendor relationships. So that's what we're going to focus our presentation on. So as you can see there, we're a lot stronger together. You know that, we know that. So we will continue to maintain that active relationship and then just get better as time goes on.
Oops. Slides here. So let me talk a little bit about workforce opportunity. So we want to go from being a really good workforce provider, to making a stronger system, not just at Mesa, not just in the city of Mesa and the East Valley, but really as a larger region of Maricopa workforce development. Over this last academic year, we studied what's working well. We used an Aspen survey. Aspen is an institution that helps community colleges go from good to great. So we used a Aspen workforce development survey and asked all of our program directors, our chairs, our advisors, our executive leadership team, what's working well now and what do we need to focus on? And what we learned through that survey is we have some really excellent faculty here. Uh, just unbelievable program expertise. So we really shine in the hiring process of getting the right talent on board. We have worked very hard to curate our program portfolio to meet the local industry needs. You may not know this, but we chose to sunset an awful lot of small certificates that weren't creating a lot of impact so that we could really focus our efforts in doing less things, but at greater scale, with more impact. So if students weren't using it and if employers weren't demanding it over the last 2 years, we sunset a lot of the smaller things so that we can really do more things at scale. We have some really strong employer and advisory relationships. So if you're not part of one of our advisory groups, we'll talk about some opportunities for you to get involved there. We love our employers of all sizes, small, medium, and large. So there's an opportunity to have direct impact to that workforce pipeline. We've got a great career services team. We actually invested heavily through Student Affairs reorg in more personnel. So people such as Adam Soto in front of you today are evidence of that recent investment. And we reimagined our whole student affairs organization structure and our academic affairs organization structure the last year, so that the structure of the past wasn't necessarily positioned to be what we need right now and into the future. So we've repositioned the entire college to really think about maximum opportunity for transfer and maximum opportunity for employment and achieving a living wage. So we've organized around those principles. And at a system level, we are very focused on high demand, high wage pathways. And what that means is we need to focus right now on those programs that lead to a living wage in the $25 to $32 an hour range. And we need to create more opportunities in those areas. And for the pathways that culminate in a wage less than that, we need to work with employers and students to make sure that that's stacking quickly, right? So they can move to pathways of prosperity. So our focus then, that's what's working well, right? Our opportunity is we need to do a lot more things like this. It can't be once a year advisory committees. We need to kind of have constant contact with you all. Relationships don't grow when you only see each other once a year, right? We need to have relationships like we have with Mesa Chamber, where we're communicating for sure, like every month on something, and sometimes more intensively than that when we're trying to develop. Um, so employers, faculty, students, all commingling is very, very important. And we have a wealth of college services that, can be maximized. The other piece is, we use labor market data in pockets. You may not know it, but we have robust labor market tools, and so we are a service even to the community. If you have a question about what's happening in your area, we can probably help answer that. Um, and then we just want to make those pathways from classroom to career really shine. So internship opportunities, site visits at your locations, and the reciprocal are very much welcomed. So we've got things that are growing like gangbusters, such as our construction trades and automation. So we're really taking a look at why those models click with both students and employers, and those things are working well there. How do we scale those to more areas? So we got lots of good work. We just are focused on connection, supporting, and coordination. All right. You won't hear from me in a while, so I'm going to turn it over to these gentlemen again.
All right, so one of the greatest opportunities, as you well know, is internships, and luckily, as Mike pointed
Oh,
out earlier,
sorry.
we have invested in an internship coordinator now through Student Affairs, along with Adam. So that opportunity is going to get a lot easier for us here going forward. So we're learning for higher education and skill building, and so what we're looking to do, what we need to do, is a centralized matching system. That's going to be important. Also something that aligns with our already existing pathways. In the past, manufacturing has aligned well, IT, public service, healthcare, and sustainability, but there's others, right? There's other opportunities as well. As far as internships, when it comes from the student perspective, obviously the paid ones are better than the unpaid ones. So we're always looking to figure out a way to compensate our students for the internship. And then the part that is a missed opportunity, I think, is the conversion strategy, right? So we need to do a much better job of tracking interns and figure out, which ones of these internships are leading to part-time hires, full-time hires, et cetera, et cetera. And then the other one that I've encountered too is supervisor training. Depending on where you send a student or where you send an intern, we want to make sure that those supervisors are trained adequately so that they're actually providing a value add experience for the students. I've had some nightmare stories where, get a student an internship and they don't really have a whole lot for them to do. And so they end up doing just menial tasks most of the time and just important work some of the time. We don't want that. So our students can definitely help you solve your challenges. So we could provide interns for you. We could do internships out here for you as well. And here's just a few pictures that I took of some of our programs just in my building. This is just the Applied Sciences and Technology building. So Mike referenced construction trades. This is one of the programs that has been growing, exponentially over the last 5 years, thanks to our new program director, David Kane. So I encourage you to faculty, will introduce you to students just so that, seeing is believing, right? And one of the things that's super attractive about our programs to students and industry alike is that we are the 80% lab programs, 20% lecture. So yes, it is important to focus on the on how to do things, but it's more important to get in there and do it yourself, right? So theory is 20% and hands-on application is 80%. So there's construction trades. That's our lab right there. I think I took a picture of automation. So there's an automation lab that's I think there's about $5 million worth of equipment in there that we've been able to acquire through grants over the last 6 or 7 years. All of our trainers are Amatrol, as you can see from the picture, because they mirror industry, which is something that's really, really important for us, right? We want to make sure that we're training our students in facilities with equipment and trainers that get them ready for what it's going to be like for the industry. Another reason why we get Amateur is because they provide the curriculum. So that's a really good thing. They give us a pretty good price on their trainers. And then they're really good about helping us out whenever we need, some assistance with the equipment or some maintenance. So that's automation. We also have subtractive manufacturing, mills and lathes. The manufacturing area is right there. So those are some Haas trainers. This is a program that has also been growing, and it's a really really good program for students to want to get into to manufacturing and working in some of the machine shops that are popping up all over the valley and in Mesa for sure. And then we also have 3D printing, so additive manufacturing as well. So we have the adding and the subtracting, and then together it's a beautiful thing. But one of the things that I encourage is for anybody who has not visited our labs to come and check it out, right? I'll be happy to give you all a tour, whoever you want to bring out here, whatever group, and just show you. Because as I said before, seeing is believing. We could talk about it all day long, but it's not going to hit as hard as when you actually see it and experience it in person. We call our area the magical castle of applied sciences for a reason. There's a lot of magic that goes on in there, and we want to share that magic. So we're going to transition now to job fairs. Adam's going to talk a little bit about the job fairs that we do on campus. So some of them are targeted. The ones that I do are the targeted job fairs. So recently we had one for semiconductor. We've done targeted job fairs for aerospace as well. We have them all over the county, and so that's what we kind of focus on because our areas we found that employers find it more value to actually interview the students that are in the areas that they're looking to hire as opposed to a general, but we do both. We do the general job fairs as well, and we do the targeted ones. It's just I focus on the targeted ones, and Adam in career services, focus on the more general ones. So these are sector specific. I don't do healthcare, but I've done the manufacturing, the aerospace, the semiconductor. We also do some pre-event prep with resume workshops and mock interviews and employer briefings, things like that. Not all the time. But in some of our fairs, we've had on the spot hiring where at the end of the fair, it's like, oh, well, 12 students got hired today. And it's a really, really cool thing where you could come to a job fair, meet with employers, interview and get hired on that same day. And of course, it's important to data track and capture attendance, who got interviewed, who got hired to measure the ROI, right, on what we're investing in those job fairs and what we're getting out of them. So we're on a journey, but we're on it together, right? So this is a picture of our last hiring fair that we had over in Phoenix. We had it at Phoenix College. So one thing that I want to point out is that because we are a district, we want to make sure, and AZMI, for those of you who don't know, stands for the Arizona Advanced Manufacturing Institute. It's an entity that started at Mesa Community College, but now it's district wide. So where I was getting at with that point is that we'll have these targeted job fairs in Mesa. And then another semester we'll have them at Chandler Gilbert Community College. This time we had it at Phoenix College. We've had them at Estrella Mountain. So we have them all over the valley.
Hi, so this is the picture you see here is as Dr. Becerra mentioned, a general job fair. This was our last event in April. We had approximately 32 employers from various industries participate. It was a great turnout. So in career services, how we are helping students. Students can come in and receive one-on-one assistance with the career advisor to help them explore careers, explore their major. Sometimes students come to MCC and maybe they have already decided on the program they want to pursue, and sometimes they're unsure of what they want to pursue, and they can make an appointment with career services to help them explore their interests, explore careers, explore wages and trends and the industry they want to pursue to help them make a better decision. And oftentimes they're coming to us after they've decided, and maybe after a few classes or 2 semesters, they're realizing they may not have that same interest, and so they can come back to us and we can help them in that manner as well. And then preparing for the workforce, helping them create and update their resume and cover letters, helping them tailor that to the specific industry and jobs that they're applying for, mock interview sessions, as well as teaching them about the different ways that they can search for employment, different platforms, different things that they can do to help themselves be a little bit more marketable, such as, reviewing their LinkedIn or helping them set up a LinkedIn account. And then also what we're going to start is work readiness competencies, and really preparing them, taking feedback from employers on those gaps that they're seeing with new hires, and how can we bridge that and help them be a little bit more prepared to enter the workforce. And then the other aspect is our business engagement. And so what I have listed there are different activities that employers can engage with us. It could be all of that, or it can be maybe one thing to maybe gradually start a partnership with MCC. And those can be recruiting events, our big hiring events. But we all are also starting to, hopefully in the fall, we'll have more targeted job hiring events, as opposed to a more general where it covers several different industries. And then, as he mentioned too, internships, apprenticeships, and job shadowing opportunities for students, so that they could have some experience when they complete their program, and as they enter the workforce, it'd be great if they could have some experience to go along with their educational credential. Another way could be a guest speaker, or a presentation to a classroom, or at a club event. Could be another way to engage with students. Industry panels, and as was mentioned too, advisory or an industry board participation. And we're also, as we work together, there's been some employers that have reached out to career services, and maybe they're more in line with Dean Voss and Dr. Becerra's areas. And so we work together, share information, share partnerships, and then also worksite tours. If we can expose students to what the worksite would look like, and hear from people already in the field, those are valuable. So any way that we can help you engage with MCC, there are various ways, and maybe there's some activities that aren't listed here, and we can be creative with how you want to partner with MCC or a particular department. We're open for business, and we look forward to working with you.
I want to touch on a few things. Could you go back to the other one that Adam mentioned a little bit? So worksite tours, we do that, quite a bit. Recently, we went to Dexcom. We've gone to Dysol as well. We've done visits at Boeing, and we don't only just do those in Mesa. We do those in other cities as well. But those ones come to mind for sure. So we want to do more of that, introducing students to what the factory, the lab actually looks like, right? So that's really important for us, and it's really important for them. And then he also mentioned soft skills. Our district has developed over the last couple of years a professional skills badge. Bob, I'll send you the information after our meeting, where students are able to just take this course online. I think it takes them about 10 hours, and then they get a badge saying that I'm covered with, the professional skill side, right? The being on time, the communication, the making sure you work well in the sandbox, like, all that kind of stuff that our employers are telling us desperately that a lot of our current, students or our current potential employees are lacking. So we've addressed that issue with the professional skills badge, that I'll share some information with you afterwards. Now, this I think is a big opportunity that we can do a lot better on, is the vendor relationships, right? So we want to make sure that as small businesses are coming into Mesa, that we have a way of knowing who they are and connecting with them early on to see if we could get some of those businesses to be vendors, right, for the college. And the same thing is true the other way. A lot of our students are starting their own businesses or starting their own, ventures, and we want to make sure that they're connected to the city of Mesa so that they could potentially be vendors for you as well, right? I don't know if Mike has anything to add on this one, but I think this is one that we can do a lot better on, because we can definitely help you and you could definitely help us with those vendor relationships.
Well, the only thing I would say here is I think we're looking for creative vendor relationships, and I'm going to just highlight one that's very impactful, to our community. So a combination of the City of Mesa, Becker Boards, and our foundation were responsible for the creative relationship to stand up two new billboards on our campus. And those billboards are actually revenue share boards. The two new billboards that are, on the 60, really close to our Performing Arts Center, now generate $400,000 a year in scholarship funds back to the Mesa College Promise. And, it doesn't have to be something that grand, but I think there's really good opportunities for us to create win-win situations with local businesses. That's a win for, your company, and a win for students somehow. And so, being open for business is a really important part of what we do because you know, the vehicles to fund workforce development are actually kind of shrinking in some ways, right? The funding for community colleges to grow is not like it was from the 60s to the 90s, right? And yet our community, and you read all these articles and things about the community colleges being a great workforce engine. And we want to do that, right? But we also need to do it through more entrepreneurial ventures with our community to create win-win solutions. So that's the one thing that I, want to mention on that.
All right. So sponsorships, that's talent investment really is what we're talking about there. So there's a way to fund specific pathways. We have some of the examples of that already with our semiconductor space and aerospace. A lot of our students, until the funding runs out, they're getting reimbursed for classes in those areas because the need is so high that we have to figure out a way to get more and more students in those programs. And what better way to do that than to offer a reimbursement or to pay tuition up front, right? So that's something that's important that we've been able to have in the past, and we're hoping to have some more of in the future. Equipment and lab support, that's always a key. I know Mike is always stressing how important that is, and making sure that our training labs mirror industry environments, and are also keeping up to date with the changes that are happening in industry, which that's one of our biggest challenges, if I'm being, completely frank with you, is that we don't move as fast as industry does. So we got to move a little bit faster to make sure that we're able to keep up with those demands and change. And then another thing too that sometimes gets lost is that our students need a lot more support services than we are currently able to offer. We offer some support in these areas, but there's always a need for more, right? Transportation, affordable housing, childcare. Sometimes, a lot of the times, those things are what keeps students from either enrolling in our college, in our classes, or definitely from even finishing, right? If they're already here. So we're always looking for ways to get some sponsorships to help students out in these areas as well. So we have to maximize those opportunities for student support. I mean, this has always been true, but it's been even more true since 2020, right? Since the pandemic. So that's something that we always have to keep an eye on.
I just want to add a couple things on there. As a community college, we are definitely a commuter school, right? There's no on-campus housing, and that's actually a question we get sometimes. People relocate here with great frequency. I think there's about 500 people a day who relocate to the Maricopa County area. And one question is, do you have housing? So figuring out affordable housing solutions is really important. We're having conversations with companies like Waymo, like, getting from sometimes people can get to campus, but when we set up the off-campus work expectations, wherever they might be, that's a barrier. So we're looking at that particularly in high demand areas like healthcare clinical, where a student may need to go to a variety of different clinical settings throughout the valley just to get the hands-on experience they need with patients. So again, we're being more creative than we've ever been. Oh, now I actually get a slide again. Okay, great. This is my last slide. So you know, I've heard that, if you hear something once, you can't remember it twice. About three times, you're kind of hearing it from three different people. So again, as a small business, and I have my dad and my older brother both had small businesses their whole life. I know it can be daunting to try to figure out like how do I really engage with something as big as the biggest community college in the biggest district in in the country. Well, start where you are, right? And we can meet you wherever you are in your business trajectory right now. Presentations like this are just simply awareness, right? So thanks for showing up. Thanks for investing your time. Tell your friends, like, we are a very open place to be. Um, low, very low time commitments on your side is, maybe you want to be a guest speaker. We've had companies like even Grimaldi's come in and talk, about some of their experiences. Um, Even classroom visits, the reciprocal that they said, a work site tour is important. Everything that Adam was talking about, the mock interviews, um, it's helpful to sometimes have an actual employer there with us, particularly when we're trying to dial someone in for a particular field, whether it's marketing or accounting or a business related field. Um, Talent connection, so we maintain some lists. All you have to do is kind of contact us once and we'll get you on the list so that you're aware of when job fairs are, hiring events are, and um, it's an area that we're trying to do better. We're really, on our side, um, coordinating all the possible conversations that can happen is a challenge. So, I've signaled that we need a better business to business CRM to manage all of these relationships. But we will do our best, right, to keep you connected to your talent pipelines. Oftentimes, we're going to ask you, can you give us an example of your job description? We really need to see how the requirements that you're putting in, and then let us do the work. We can find the right area of the college where we can get the talent for you. Um, the employer to faculty connection is really important, and so I think getting that on the radar. Sometimes you get early access to candidates that aren't even through the full pipeline when they have some of those connections. Um, the work and learn, yesterday we had Blackstone, gave their charitable arm gave a very large donation, and we had students there visiting with the Blackstone representatives, and the students are so appreciative. You have no idea what, like, the opportunity to work and learn and make a little bit of money. It's a differentiator for these students to get all the way through a program, or even a $500 scholarship really eases the burden. And we have data as long as the year is long on how much students are more successful when someone invests in them. And then the local talent loyalty goes through the roof. 85% of our students live within a 10-mile radius of this campus. Over half of them are first-generation college students. And when someone invests in them locally, you are more likely to land that person as an employee and reduce turnover. This week, Empire Caterpillar had their Think Big graduation. We have a partnership to help train Caterpillar technicians. That partnership wasn't as big as it is today, right? But it's been going on for 23 years. And they've tracked that their work and learn investment has yielded a 50% retention rate over the lifetime of the program, right? So that is really, really good. People who get that investment tend to stay with that company and they don't job hop. And then I think there's also opportunities, for strategic partnerships. Every one of our programs holds an advisory committee, small and maybe local to an area that you're interested in. We also have the college president's big advisory committee, right? There's an opportunity to, be part of that as well. So, yeah, I want to make sure that you hear loud and clear that small businesses are very important. In fact, that's the lifeblood of our economy. All big businesses start someplace. And so our ability to serve you, community is in our name. It's the most important thing we do. And there's more community in the small business area. There's more of you than there is in the large. And so it's very, very important that we are connected to meet you where you are. So please, please, please reach out to us. So hopefully you can see yourself someplace in this pathway of opportunity.
And that's a perfect segue as we're getting close here to the end. So the keys going forward, I think for our group and for you guys as well, is we need to proceed with purpose and intentionality, right? And then we have to have points of contact. We already know who they are. So I know Bob, I could reach out to Bob and Ruben, and Bob knows who he can reach out to here, myself, Adam, Dean Voss. That's important. We also have to have an equity lens, right? Ensure that our opportunities are reaching underserved students and neighborhoods. And then Mike mentioned this earlier, that the feedback loops are important. It can't just be a once a year thing. There's got to be regular opportunities to gather input from students, employers, and city staff. And then Mike is really, really good at making sure we have clear metrics as far as the placements and the hires and participation, the money, and the ROI. So that's really important too. So we got to show up with consistency and purpose. So to wrap up, I mentioned earlier we had the how, the why, the where, the when. How, we're going to do this together. Why? It's because that's the way that we could have the most impact. Where? Anywhere and everywhere. And when? It has to be consistent. It can't just be one-offs, right? It has to be consistent. So again, we got to show up with consistency and purpose, and we're going to get to where we want to go.
Our last slide. Yeah, there we go. There's those gentlemen. Yeah, there we go. Perfect. All right, so we're available for questions, and I'll stop sharing so I don't have to look at this big screen. I can see your face.
I put one question for Adam in the chat.
Oh yeah, let's see. Oh, what's your favorite go-to platform to help students with career exploration, interest assessments? What do you like, Adam?
Right now we are what's the
Career coach?
career coach, and also
We have Maricopa Pipeline.
Thank you.
Pipeline.
Maricopa Pipeline. Oh, we are, or excuse me, not us, but the district is in process of they'll still have Maricopa Pipeline available, but we are transitioning to a new platform, which is Simplicity. And so this summer we'll be in the implementation phase of that, and hopefully rolling that out across the district in the fall. And that platform will be available to, just like Maricopa Pipeline, will be available to businesses to post job opportunities across the district, not just with Mesa, but across to all sister colleges in Maricopa.
Fantastic. Would you have to be an enrolled student with Maricopa Community College District to access those?
That's a
So-
good question.
All right. I should know the answer because I was on the RFP team. I'm not sure if the simplicity part is gated, and I will find that out. Today, though, at Mesa Community College, Career Coach is not gated, and it's accessible on our front page. It's accessible in career services, and it's really important for us to have an ungated solution for career assessments. So uh, I really, Mesa pays extra for Career Coach, and it also informs all the labor market data on the student-facing part of our program pages. So what we really like about that product is most traditional career assessments are like a 60 question thing, and they're all kind of based on the same I think it's called the Hollins framework. Career Coach has a proprietary 6 question version that actually works pretty well. And a lot of students like that because it's a lot faster. Because most students want to answer the question, well, they would like to know, well, what should I do? And then if you do the simple interest profile, then they want to know, does this college offer the thing for me to do? Then they want to know how much does it cost and how much will I make, right? That is the most important thing. So Career Coach helps surface that. So feel free to, if you're in the city of Mesa, feel free to tie into that. Use it all day long. It doesn't cost a thing. It's really, really good. And even for employees that are looking to, what should I do next? I think it's a good thing.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I'm speaking, asking the question for our students, but in particular our student alumni that
Yeah.
graduate. We have graduation coming up in July, and so I am working with students being close to graduating as well as their post-secondary
Mhm.
goals and aspirations, and I want to be able to make sure that they are feeling confident about some of their interests and where their interests could take them.
So, Jenny, if you want to do a follow-up anytime, be happy to walk you through it. I
Fantastic.
I I prefer that our local employers use Career Coach because what'll happen is you'll do the entrance inventory and it'll point right back to our program pages, and then you can get the apply now and get connected.
I love
So it works a little bit better than Pipeline AZ, which we're moving away from because people get lost in that ecosystem a little bit.
Yeah, I'm very familiar with. So it used to be My Future AZ, and when I
Yeah,
was teaching workplace readiness, that was one of our projects, our ECAP,
yeah,
and
yeah,
it was not user friendly at all. It was
yeah,
very challenging, and it's really not geared towards a student possibly that's in a credit recovery situation, coming back to high school, looking to sort of they've
yeah.
had a later start possibly, and it's really geared more, I think, towards a younger student. So I think this will be really great, and I'm excited to look into Career Coach. I had never heard of that one. I do a lot with
Yeah,
ONET, ArizonaJobConnection.gov. Those are the ones
yeah.
I'm
I,
working
I,
with.
I think what you'll find is this. So, Maricopa did a little experiment with the Pipeline AZ thing. We're too big for that. It wasn't well developed enough. So we're leaving that thing behind. We're going back to Simplicity, which we actually had for about 5 years. Simplicity is used by about half the community colleges in the country.
Oh,
So that is a really good tool for us, more for the captive audience once they're a student with us to get in through and out and connected. And that product has improved tremendously since we last had it. So we love that product. Career Coach, Mesa, I hope that the whole district will adopt it soon, but I have no guarantees. The whole state of California's community college system uses Career Coach as a single instance to help the massive population of of California find programs and colleges close to them for workforce development. Many other state systems use it. So I would say that between Career Coach and Simplicity, Career Coach is used as a front door solution for ungated students, right? And then Simplicity is used as the back end solution. But we did talk a lot with Simplicity about some ungating pieces. So as we do implementation, if they can meet the need there, then I could give up Career Coach, but I'm not willing to give it up right now because it's just too much of a value add for prospective people that are not yet committed to being a student. Thank you. But yeah, happy to do a one-on-one.
Thank
And
you.
Jenny, another partner that I've worked with in the past is JAG. Have you heard of Jobs for Arizona Graduates?
Oh yeah, very
Yeah,
familiar.
So, I actually have a question for the guys, because both of you are relatively new in your roles. And one of the biggest duplicitous challenges that we find in working with the ecosystem is on the employer side, helping employers understand what to do with their interns. So you touched on this a little bit in the presentation about developing an intern plan, that kind of thing. So we find ourselves a lot having to try to coach small businesses on what it is that they would do with an intern, what that plan looks like, and kind of how they would engage an intern over the course of the time that they're with you. And then on the other side of that, most of the interns that we have come through us have come through independent of any systemic process at the college. They will find us online, they will find us in whatever way they're looking, but they'll just kind of reach out to us on their own. So give us some thoughts on where you would like to drive on each of those two subjects. Like where are you thinking you're going?
well, a couple things. One, I did mention that we have an internship coordinator now, which is a big win for us and a big win for you all. Ebony
Robinson.
Robinson is her name, and she's been on board for about 4 months now. So that's gonna help us out tremendously. But to touch on your question, Bob, it's not a one size fits all model. So it's really just communicating with the company, and making sure that we create a plan. I've helped with that in the past, but it's not a one size fits all model. But to the point that I made earlier, we don't want for employers to feel uncomfortable not knowing what they should or could do. And we also don't want our students to feel uncomfortable thinking, no, I just did an internship for a semester and I didn't learn a whole lot. So it's about communicating. It is challenging, but I believe that every challenge is an opportunity, right? It'd be a lot easier if we're working in the same industry and we could figure out templates. But unfortunately, that's not really the case.
Alan?
Yeah, Ebony, what she'll do is work with that individual business, or manager, supervisor to develop a plan for the student. And that would be based on, that employer's needs and, kind of a dual, it works dual. And so the needs of the business as well as how can the business provide an experience for the student that is value added, that reinforces what they're learning in the classroom. And then also that can be of value to you. And so she's been doing this, she's new to career services at MCC. She's been doing it for other organizations. And so she can work with them individually on developing something that works for you.
So can I have you facilitate an introduction on that for me?
Absolutely.
For sure. Yeah, I think you touched on a point where we were under-resourced as a college this big in this part of our, responsibility. And this is the massive student affairs reorg netted +3 FTE to our career services. So we should be able to better develop those models. And it's very, very tricky, right? Because paid internship, unpaid internship does the internship align with a credit bearing opportunity or not? How long is the internship? What's the capacity of the internship site? What's the interest of the internship site? I think that there are some models, and we're learning all the time as well. This was really shocking to me. You know, the Autism Academy reached out to us to place interns here at Mesa Community College. And what was interesting to us was how well developed their internship placement model was for their students. And so I think there's, opportunities from that experience for us to learn and grow about how clear as an educational institution they were about what is needed to place students in different environments. So I think it is a two-way street. And we have to do these kind of they're one by one. It's rare that we have places that have large volume interns, with the exception of our healthcare programs, obviously. You got to have a lot of baby ducks out in hospitals and whatnot. Some of the growing like Empire Caterpillar has a massive internship program, all employer supported. Our new growing data analytics program, we had to do internship placement for 34 graduates, right? So, but the tricky thing is like when there's not curriculum alignment, right? And the internships are additive or extra or more about getting work experience for the transition to employment. Well, that can look a lot of different ways based on how the interest of the student to go work for that employer, right? And the capacity of the employer. So, Bob, I will absolutely be at the meeting with Ebony and y'all because I want to make sure that we do this really, really well.
Well, I mean, we've worked together on this kind of stuff for a decade or more. You're not alone. Certainly, MCC is not alone in that place where it's like, how do we develop that process, right? We interact with most of the higher education institutions, and a lot of them are not fully aware of their process or how to engage in that effectively. So I think the organizations that do come around to that and say, hey, this is what we can do. This is how we can make sure we know, one, where people are going, what they're getting, and that they're getting what's valuable to the community and themselves. Like that's going to be the ticket. I think that's going to be where you find the value in what you're doing.
Yeah. Well, and so we lacked a business system that did this well for several years. So when we chose to get off the Simplicity platform, which has been way more than 5 years right now, we had a data systems gap for managing the scope of work. Now getting back on that standard gives us the business tool to organize what could be perceived as a fairly chaotic thing, right? So Simplicity is specifically designed to help answer this business problem at scale for us. So the complexity of individual placements, lots of employers, is all managed for us through the effective deployment and use of Simplicity, working with the employer.
Cool.
The last thing that I want to share, I know we're getting close on time, is if you all have a calendar of events and activities for the fall, share it with us. Once we have our calendar, we'll share it with you all as well, because I think it's critical that you participate in our events, we participate in your events, and the only way that that's going to happen is if we know what's going on.
No.
So that's going to be something that's very important going forward.
Excellent. Thank you all for joining us. Any additional questions for our guests today? Shannon, you good?
Thank you all. We appreciate you. Looking forward to collaborating in the future.
All right. So thank you all for joining us today. If you have any questions, certainly you can feel free to follow up with me on email. I'm pretty sure at least somebody put their email in the chat. I don't know who it was, but whoever it was,
It was Dan, yeah.
Was it okay? You are welcome to follow up with me. You're certainly welcome to follow up with Adam and the gang over there. So they're happy to help you. Otherwise, if you need anything, great. I'll send out the invites for next month's meeting, probably first part after we get back from Memorial Day. So if there's nothing else, I'll let you guys get on with your day.
Sounds good. Thanks.
Have a good one, everyone.
Bye.